deal with it. Hey everybody, it's Root Beer, back again with another weekly roundup. So this week we got a whole bunch of festival collection reveals, and we got to see double Rs for every nation. Atlas already covered the Dragon Empire one, so I'm gonna do the rest of them. And we also got some Touken Ranbu reveals that I honestly don't care about, so probably not gonna talk about those. Let's do this. So first we have Diablos Boy's Jared. So act once per turn, Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, choose one of your units with Diablos in its name, and it gets plus 10k until end of turn. And it also has an auto when it attacks. If you're in Final Rush, your opponent can't intercept during that battle. Funny thing, we actually have a Jared that we were friends with, and he played Spike Brothers back in the day, so that's a funny little coincidence. But for this card's actual skill, I do like it. The plus 10k gives you something to do in the early game. You know, one of Bruce's inherent weaknesses is just how slow Final Rush is. So having that plus 10k early on any Diablos unit, including itself, you don't have to choose a different unit, means you can make an easy 28k column, which helps you have a little bit to do during your first grade 3 ride. And then once you're in Final Rush, one of my problems with the deck right now is just Eden is kind of weak, so being able to go plus 10k on him, make him like 25 or potentially 35k if you're on Persona Ride turn is pretty nice. You can just put it behind Bruce and then eat it with Marjorie and get like 2 really nice columns out of it. Not sure that the intercept skill matters particularly much, but, you know, something that it has, and it could make a difference. And then we also have Degrade Age Dragon, so when placed on Rearguard Circle, if you have 5+ soul, discard 1, retire an opponent's back row rearguard. Nice little bit of removal. You can take care of any problematic back row, can especially screw over Magnolia, but discard 1 is a pretty hefty cost, you are going 1 for 1. I'm not sure if it's necessary enough that you want to be paying such a high cost right now, but it is generic, so I guess this is kind of a future-proofing kind of thing, where if there does exist some problematic back row in the future, this card is something you could tech in to deal with it. We also got some promos for Aqua Force and Mega Colony in V, so the Aqua Force promo, at the end of the battle, it attacks Vanguard. If it's the first battle, you can counterblast 1, put this card at the bottom of the deck. Look at your top 3, choose up to 1, call it to an additional rearguard circle, put the rest to the bottom of your deck in any order, so not bad. Like, it's a way of getting another attack. It does have the problem where you could potentially replace it with something that's a lot weaker than it, but who knows, maybe you'll hit something good. Might be worth experimenting with. And then the Mega Colony card, when it's placed on Vanguard or Rearguard Circle, you can counterblast 1, choose one of your opponent's rearguards without a Cradle, put a Cradle on it. If you did not choose, draw a card, and then during your turn, if your opponent has a Cradle, this unit gets power plus 6,000. Not bad. Good sized attacker, gets you a Cradle, you can draw a card if you don't Cradle. And then the stream also had a whole bunch of Touken Ranbu reveals that I just don't care about. I'll throw them all up on the screen with translations, but honestly, I just don't care enough to actually talk about them. And then we also got, like, Dragon Strike reveals. I don't think we got actual card skills yet. So, that's a thing that exists. So back to cards that actually matter. We have, for Brantgate, Proof Core did not translate the name of this card, so but it's a grade 2, 10k, act, rearguard circle, once per turn. You can counterblast 1, rest this unit, choose one of your opponent's front row rearguards, and retire it. This card kind of confuses me. I'm not sure why you would want to be resting anything right now, because Nova Grappler doesn't exist. I guess it could be foreshadowing for a future Nova Grappler archetype that can actually use this card, but I think Prison, well, you do want to retire things sometimes. Certain cards like Alden, for example, are just really problematic, and a temporary removal with Prison is not good enough, so you would want to retire things. The problem is just resting it. Your columns are already weak, and you're taking away even more power by not having this column available, or you have to spend extra cards calling over it. I think Orphis you can manage a little better because you can call over it with the Shadow Army, but then you're still counterblasting 3 that turn, and you already have the order that lets you retire a card, so I think unless we get a Nova Grappler archetype that can restand this card, this isn't worth it right now. And then we also have Aurora Battle Princess Spark Limon. So also a grade 2 10k. When its attack hits, choose up to 2 units from your opponent's drop zone and imprison them in your prison. This card says on hit, so it's bad, especially in a deck that has really weak columns. The upside is you can hit anything, so you can choose to attack a rear guard, and you, the owner of this card, get to choose what card's in your opponent's drop zone, so it's not like your opponent's like, oh, you hit. Alright, let me just imprison this Alden and this Darkstain that I'm gonna get back the next turn. And you could just be like, alright, imprison those 2 triggers. You know, have fun doing anything with those. But, yeah, just saying on hit probably kills this card's viability. Then for Keter Sanctuary, we have Harp Bow of Heavenly Music, Alpheon. So act, rearguard once per turn, and it's a grade 3, 13k. If you have 3 plus grade 3 units, counts itself. Counterblast 1, this unit gets 5k, and if you Persona Road this turn, draw 1. Probably too weak to be played. Needing to Persona Ride to draw a card is very slow, and you have to Counterblast just to get the power, so I think Alden is probably still just better because Alden is a beat stick for free, and in terms of card efficiency, you're counterblasting 2 to draw 2 versus counterblasting 1 to draw 1. It is more resource efficient, but it is probably too slow. And then we have Gold Gaon. I think that's how that's pronounced. So, grade 2 10k. When placed, Soul Blast 1, call a grade 1 from hand. The unit called for this cost gets 5k until end of turn. It is a grade 2, so you're probably not playing it in Bastion, especially because you have to call a grade 1 to go along with it. And then it doesn't even make good enough columns. And I think same problem in Hexa Orb is just this doesn't make good enough columns. It's only a 23k column. Maybe 25 if you use the 10k booster, but I don't think there's anything you can call right now that makes this column big enough to be worth it. Maybe if we see stronger grade 1s. And then we have for Stoichea, Hydro Rail Dragon, grade 3, 13k, so when its attack hits a Vanguard, retire this unit, add a grade 3 unit card from drop zone to hand. So I think the intention here is to get back your Persona rides, so this is pretty useful. Magnolia really wants the Persona ride, and it is probably easier to mill cards than to try and draw them in that deck. Same thing with Zorga, you do mill a lot, so you can use this card to find copies of Zorga and Persona Ride consistently. And worst case scenario, because you paid the cost before you resolve the skill, you can always just use this card's effect to get itself back. I don't know why you would do that, but it is free technically, so I guess you can do it. It's fine, probably have to be played out of necessity to some degree. It'll definitely be better in Zorga, because you can bring it back the next turn. But yeah, we also have Sylvan Hornby's Kasuy, so it's a grade 1, 15k with no shield, and its skill is you can't ride this card and call it anywhere other than back row center. Probably just don't want to play this card, because even though it is a 15k attacker, you already have the Bulbasaur, which is a 13k attacker, and right now, nothing gives power in any kind of weird increment that would make 15k worthwhile over 13. Everything's just in increments of 5k, so you're never going to reach a point where that extra 2k matters. Unless we start getting cards that give, like, 7k power or something, or not even 7k, like, it have to be 8k for it to matter. So yeah, unless we start getting things that give, like, 8k power, or we start getting 15k Vanguards, I don't see this card being particularly useful, especially for the really heavy restriction of you can only call it to the back row center, which means you're also taking up that spot for something like Ginozla in Magnolia instead. The only real upside is being a 15k base means you have a 15k booster, but then I think you just have a much harder time making an effective board. Like, it's okay that Magnolia is a little bit weaker because you have your drive checks to kind of make up for it, versus having really weak columns that just aren't going to get stronger and your opponent can definitely deal with it. So yeah, just don't think this card is very worth it. And then we got more Touken Ranbu reveals. I don't really care. Moving on. We did also get one more promo for Keter Sanctuary just this morning before I recorded this, so... Moon Rabbit Witch Rubinia is a grade 2. When this unit is placed on rearguard circle, counterblast 1. Put a card from hand into soul, draw a card. It is soul charging, lets you cycle some bad cards out of your hand. It's like fine. It's not terrible. It's not great either. It's perfectly medium. Might play it in what's-her-face Hexa Orb just because you need to draw a whole bunch of cards to Persona Ride. But yeah, I think a lot of the cards that got revealed for this festival collection ended up being kind of uninteresting. I think the 2 cards we got for Dark States are both interesting cards that are worth testing, but I think everything else is either like weaker than what we already have, or just like offer a utility that isn't strictly needed right now. Some of these cards I think have potential for the future, just right now it's not really worth it unless other things in this festival collection make them like ridiculously strong. Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked it, leave a comment. And I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye. Yeah, and thanks to our $10 patrons, Darren and Cole. Our Patreon will be in the description. If you like it, maybe consider supporting us. $5 will get you a whole-ass bonus show. $10 gets you a shout-out in the credits, like I did just now. Thank you again. Bye.